How's it going, everybody? It is Bill Macross, back again. So, my life is a little bit more genuinely, well, a lot more genuinely stable now than it has been previously. And not that my life was, not that I'm going to get into like anything about my life in particular, but it was just, my available free time was rather unstable, but it's rather stable now. So I think I'm going to start making actually regular content here again for all now 20 subscribers. And when I say that that's genuinely exciting, I really do mean that, because most YouTubers probably wouldn't sneeze at 20 subscribers lost or gained. Most genuine quote-unquote YouTubers probably wouldn't care about any number of subscribers lost or gained unless it hits 4 figures or more. But, to me, some jack-off just speaking into a microphone in his home studio now, that actually means a lot that 20 people give a shit about what I have to say. So, today, I'd like to talk about what I like to call moral disability, because this is the only name that I can really come up with for what I'm about to describe here. So, let me set all of this up. This isn't going to be a super long topic, just a set of thoughts that I've had recently that I keep having, and I really can't seem to not think about them pretty often. So I'm sure everybody listening is somewhat familiar with Jonathan Haidt's The Righteous Mind and all of the things that brought forward, mostly being that, to summarize it up for I'm sure all 20 of you who know what I'm talking about, and if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, I'll put a couple links in the description to find better sources for it, because I probably wouldn't be the best to really explain all of the background information. So I'm just assuming that everybody is tangentially familiar with The Righteous Mind and Jonathan Haidt's work in it. But to summarize it briefly, the liberal people, by and large, generally speaking, are genuinely unable to coherently understand half of all available moral pillars, I suppose we should call them, of which there are 6. There is care, fairness, liberty, loyalty, authority, and sanctity. Sometimes people mention that there's only 5, but I don't know which one they're excluding when they mention only 5. But to my understanding, there are 6. Liberals are only able to understand care and fairness. Now, you could sit down and you could explain in common language to a liberal what authority means and why you as a conservative give a shit about it. And they might nod their head and they understand the sentences that you're saying. They may understand the words that you're saying and they may understand by definition the words you're saying and coherently understand them in a sentence. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be able to actually morally observe authority as it is. So liberals can only understand care and fairness, and libertarians can only understand liberty. Now, if you're like me, you know that libertarians are just liberals who have a specific economic, caveat to them, because, free market capitalism isn't exclusive to being a liberal. You can be a liberal and be a free market capitalist. There's nothing left or right wing about free market economies. There's nothing left or right wing about socialism, frankly, but that's for another video that will probably anger a lot of people, honestly. And that'll be the next one, so you can look forward to it. But anyway, getting back on topic, liberals / libertarians can only observe, in total, 3 out of 6 available moral foundations. Meanwhile, conservatives are able to morally observe all 6. So I'm going to be speaking I am speaking already in somewhat esoteric language when it comes to moral observation. So I'm going to try to explain this and what I mean by moral disability all in one demonstration. So let's take, for instance, somebody who's colorblind. The human body is typically able to observe a certain spectrum of light color, or however you want to put it. There's a certain spectrum of light frequency that the human eye is naturally able to observe. Now, there's some differences between male and female. On average, women can actually see more shades of color, but I don't think that actually expands their frequency view. But somebody who has color blindness is blind to certain frequencies of that light. or that frequency, they're not blind to, it's not like they see nothing, but that frequency doesn't look like the color it actually is. That frequency range looks like the next adjacent color to them. Like I had a teacher once who was colorblind, and he said that he was planning on buying a car that was specifically canary yellow, because canary yellow is such a particular shade of yellow that even with his colorblindness, it was the only shade of yellow that he could actually make out. It was a very specific shade of yellow. It was called canary yellow. Don't ask me why I remember this so specifically, when it was over a decade ago that I heard this from him. So we would call that a disability. That is a physical disability, colorblindness. Now, it's a pretty innocuous one. It doesn't really disable you from doing anything serious, but let's say also that the human being's body is also designed naturally to be able to walk and control all four limbs with, adequate dexterity. Somebody who is a paraplegic, paralyzed from the waist down, is physically disabled. Likewise, there are certain cognitive thresholds that the human mind is able to, or supposed to be able to, operate within, and when you're not able to do so, we label that mental disability. Well, when the human mind, or the human soul or spirit or moral compass, if we're to describe something outside of the mind as that which observes morality, as being at natural levels capable of observing 6 different units of moral value, let's say, only being able to observe 3 of them would, by all literal means, make you morally disabled. And what I mean by moral observation is, again, you could explain to somebody who doesn't understand authority what authority means and why you care about it, and they might nod their head, but that doesn't mean that they actually observe the moral value of authority. And this doesn't even necessarily mean that all right-wingers have to observe all 6 aspects of these moral pillars at all times. You can have 2 right-wingers. Let's say an issue poses the value of fairness against the value of sanctity, and you can have 2 genuine right-wingers who argue about which moral pillar to fall on in this argument, and they can both be genuine conservatives and genuine right-wingers. But the difference is that they're both actually able to observe those moral boundaries. They just might have differing, value judgments therein if it's, something close. So I don't see any other thing to call somebody who is a typical stock, run-of-the-mill liberal, left-winger, libertarian, whenever you're watching this, whatever social and political terminology is currently in use to define these people, I can't think of a better and more literally accurate term to call them other than morally disabled. It seems to be the only accurate thing to call them. So that's about all I've got for today. If you are seeing my channel for the first time, don't forget to, do all of the liking and subscribing, share it on social media if you really, really like this video and you thought I really hit on some tough points. But it is something that I wanted to talk about because I haven't seen anybody else come to this conclusion when they talk about this particular issue, and it seems painfully obvious to me that you could only call someone like this somebody who has a moral disability. And at the end of the day, if you're not somebody who you could call morally disabled, all of the people who do have moral disability have the same voting right and voting power that you have, even if you're not morally disabled. And I think that that's something very, very interesting to think about. At least for now, that's the case. So I'm going to wrap this up now, going on about 10 minutes, and that's about as long as I want to keep most of the content on this channel from here on out. But again, more stability going on in my life at the current moment, so I might be able to generate a bit more content more regularly. I'm probably not going to sit down and really do any hard researching and really script out anything for the purpose of making these videos. I'm going to continue to, research things on my own that I care about. Oh, jeez, my computer went on. Oh, God. My computer seemed to have gone into sleep mode while I was recording this, which is odd. I just did a bunch of upgrades, so I'm going to have to change some settings, I guess, to make sure that doesn't happen. But anyway, going to be a bit more stability in my life. So I'm probably not going to sit down and really script anything for the purpose of this, but this is going to be where I share my thoughts on things that I think about from the research, quote unquote, the reading and the, I guess, intrigue into politique that I do in my own life anyway. And I'll be sharing my thoughts here if they seem to be relatively original at the very least. So I'm going to wrap it up now, and I will see you guys later.